Good morning and happy Easter. Christ is risen. He's risen indeed. It's 6:15. The sun is just rising, although you can't see it. It's rather hazy this morning. But do you like open endings? Open endings to films and books, or do you like everything to be neatly drawn together, tied together, all the loose ends tied up, and a nice neat ending? If you prefer nice neat endings, you might be disappointed in how Mark leaves his account of Jesus' life and ministry. We've journeyed through Holy Week with Mark, from the entry into Jerusalem, riding on a donkey in lowly pomp, in humility announcing the kingdom of God, and in contrast to the grand entry of Pilate, representing the power of empire, through the confrontation with the powers of the age, the Roman Empire and the Jewish elite, or perhaps the powers behind the powers, and the Last Supper, to a brutal public execution, death and burial, defeated by the domination system, crushed by the power of the Roman Empire. Or so it seemed. All seemed lost. The followers of Jesus had seen their hopes shattered, their plans and aspirations were in tatters. But Mark tells us, as do the other three gospel writers, that something remarkable happened on the third day after Jesus was put to death as a criminal on a Roman cross. It's said that the darkest hour is just before the dawn. Actually, I don't think it is, because it's quite light now, and it's just the dawn's just breaking on Easter Sunday morning. Fantastic. But just when all hope seemed lost, God, it seemed, snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. Mark tells us 3 women go to the tomb at first light, the tomb where Jesus had been laid. They find 2 messengers or angels who ask them why they're looking for Jesus, and that he'd been raised to life. And they show them the empty tomb, leaving the women trembling and bewildered. Victory snatched from the jaws of defeat. And we have a hope because of Jesus' victory. And it's a sure and it's a certain hope that Jesus is, as Paul described, in the first fruits of God's renewing and remaking of all things. And because Jesus was raised from the dead and raised to life, so shall we be. We shall be changed, transformed, renewed, rebooted, and our world will be too. And how our world needs that reboot right now. Now, we won't find many clues in Mark's gospel account as to what this will all look like, because Mark leaves the story, leaves it hanging really. Mark includes no post-resurrection appearances. The risen Jesus doesn't appear in Mark's account. And if you're unhappy or uncomfortable with that, well, you're not alone. At some point, probably in the late 1st or early 2nd century, perhaps just a few decades after Mark wrote this account, someone felt that his account was somewhat incomplete, and they wrote an ending. In fact, not one but 2 alternative endings to Mark's account can be found in later manuscripts. But it wasn't that Mark didn't know what happened on that Easter morning after the women found the empty tomb, or that he didn't know about Jesus' appearances after God brought him back to life. Mark wanted to leave the story hanging. Mark wanted to finish with the empty tomb and the simple, stunning message that Jesus was raised. We get to carry on the story. We get to, in some senses, write our own ending. if we've shared Jesus' death, participated in it as Jesus suggested we should when he inaugurated the memorial we know as the Lord's Supper, we shall share too in his resurrection, life. The way up is by going down. The way to gain life is to be prepared to lose it. And that's perhaps how we feel this Easter. This Easter, celebrating resurrection, probably feels rather different. We maybe feel less like celebrating this year when there's so much uncertainty, so much unknown, so much fear for the future. It might feel almost as if we're still in the tomb with Jesus, as if we're still waiting for resurrection and unsure what it will look like when it comes. And that's probably how Jesus' disciples felt that first Easter morning. Even when they heard the rumours that Jesus was alive, they weren't sure what it meant. They weren't sure if it was really true. And if it was, what it would mean, what it would change, what it would signal. As we celebrate this strangest of Easters, as we wait for what follows this period of fear and uncertainty, as we figure out how we live as God's people, not only during this challenging time, but as we emerge into the light of a new and changed world, as it will undoubtedly be, let's not cling to the past and what served us well, but to depart briefly from Mark's account to John's account, and Mary Magdalene, who, when she realised she was in the presence of the risen Jesus, the living Jesus, not the gardener she thought, she tried to cling on to him, but was told by Jesus, don't cling to me, but go and tell. Let's not cling to the past, but embrace the future, God's future and our future, with open minds and open hearts. Open to what God is wanting to lead us into as Easter people, as kingdom people. So this Easter, may we know the joy of Easter despite the strangeness of the times. May we share in Jesus' victory. Paul says in writing to the young church in Colossae, in this way, that's through Jesus' death and resurrection, God disarmed the spiritual rulers and authorities. He shamed them publicly by his victory over them on the cross. And may we be passionate for God's rule and reign on earth as in heaven, for the kingdom that Jesus established and for that kingdom's increase. And may we know the power of God, the same power that raised Jesus from the dead, in our lives each and every day. Happy Easter. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. The sun's up. Easter Day is here. A day for celebration. A day for hope. Thank you for watching.